the recording up. Okay. That's good. Something happened. All right, I'm gonna try one more. That it wants to come on, then it'll come on early. All right, well, welcome to Connect and Create, and I'm Karina Sephora, and we have the absolute lovely Laura West with us today. And thank you so much for being here, Laura, and thank you, Betsy, for being here in our audience as well, and anyone else that will be watching this in the future, what my guest said. So before we get started, I'll share just a little bit about how Connect and Create became out there in the world. And it was really at the beginning of the pandemic. I was a guest on somebody else's Zoom radio show, and I enjoyed the process so much. And it was a lot of fun to share. And it was really great to be with people in this new virtual setting. And personally, I missed that part of social life where you go out and about and you run into people. And, so I thought, well, why don't I create an opportunity to run into people on Zoom? And the people that we feature mostly on this are artists and entrepreneurs. And today we have someone who is an entrepreneur and works with entrepreneurs and is an artist in her own way. And I'm going to formally introduce Laura in a moment. But Laura, anything you'd like to share to be present?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for this opportunity to play together and to be able to share more. I love watching you on Instagram and seeing your pictures and all the things that you're up to with your art. It's so inspiring. So I'm excited to be able to share with you and your community today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Laura. And I have a new crazy obsession. It's called TikTok. You get to make these very fun videos. So I don't know if they're, I don't know how they're coming out in the mainstream now, but they're fun to make.
They're fun.
They're fun. You get to be your own rock star is what it feels like.
So, and whatever you're doing, if you're making a PB&J or whatever that might be.
Yeah, exactly. Process in the studio usually. So I'd like to share a little about Laura. And before I do, I want to also give a thank you to Fulton County Council for the Arts for the generous grant that I've received to create this show, to do the programming. So Laura West is going to talk about business, about creativity in business. And Laura West is the CEO of the Center for Joyful Business, a creative catalyst and intuitive business coach, She knows that when you are aligned with your joy and your passion, that you are more innovative, creative, and confident, and success is inevitable. I love that. So she's helped thousands of entrepreneurs over the last 20 years develop signature programs, products, and marketing so they stand out as a leader in their market and make great money while positive ripples are happening in the world. As a certified professional coactive coach, wow, I'm excited to learn about that. Conversational intelligence enhanced facilitator, great story facilitator, and creative business coach. Laura loves to work with coaches, mission-driven entrepreneurs, and creative thought leaders who have a purpose to create a better world with their gifts and expertise. Their work is a calling, and they can't imagine doing anything else, and they are ready to finally be successful. So Laura is the author of oodles of products and programs, including creative coaching tools, which are trademarked, the 30-Day Passion Project, and the Joyful Business Plan, a creative marketing plan for right brain business owners. And you can find out more about Laura and her resources for your business at joyfulbusiness.com. And we'll make sure we put that link in the chat as well today.
Thank you.
So without further ado, Laura.
That was quite the intro. We sent you the long version.
Long version, it is, yeah. So I'd love to hear, what would you like to share with us? And do you want to start your screen sharing?
Sure, I can start. I can start my screen sharing, and yeah, share with you some ways to how we apply our creativity in our business. Tell you a little bit about me, a little bit more, and why I do what I do, and then how to unlock that creativity in your business.
Great.
Sound good?
Sounds fabulous.
All right, let me get my slides up. All right, awesome. Um, Yeah, so I'm going to be sharing with you some ways to unlock your creativity for more energy, more success, and more abundance in your business. Um, this is one of the things that I do. I was so excited to be invited to speak with your audience because it's one of the things I'm really passionate about. When I left corporate, I was corporate VP of marketing for almost 20 years, and then I left and started my own business. And one of the things I was really passionate about, and I knew intuitively, was that like joy mattered in your business, being happy in your business, being creative in your business mattered. But that wasn't something that was revered, or really honored so much in corporate. And so I've been on a mission to really prove that. And now that's really what I help my clients do, is to help really liberate that flow of power and freedom so that they can express themselves, use their creativity, and really experience a far greater range of joy in their business. So I'm going to show you my collage next of some of the ways that I use creativity in my business over the years. All sorts of ways, and we'll talk about this, is that we're always using creativity in different ways. Sometimes it's really obvious, like I use art in art business retreats that I have for my clients. I help clients create 30-day passion projects and longer term passion projects, creating books, programs, shows like what you're doing here, Karina. I have a right brain business approach to planning. So to me, it's creativity is where we get to open up and start really distinguishing ourselves and really calling in and using our own signature, beautiful brilliance is what I call it. It's our unique way. So, we're all creative, and it's something that shows up really differently for everyone. But where I want to point us, like the whole framework for what we're talking about today, is this premise of, and we all know this instinctually, is that when you feel good, you do good, right? So we all know that when you feel good, right, you have that bounce in your step. You're breathing in the air, the sun. We love that. That, we do have that bounce in our step, right? We're more likely to talk to people. We're more likely to have creative ideas flowing through our head, and we're more likely to take action on those creative ideas. So that has been proven by studies, those who have studied creativity and happiness at work, is that you are more loyal, you're more innovative, you're more creative when you're really in your joy, when you're really loving what you're doing. So to me, it's something that's really important that we want to cultivate. The way I look at it is that we're always looking at, this is where I point my clients, and myself, is where we're always trying to look towards how do we create alignment. And there's studies out now that talk about multiple brains, that we have 3 brains, and that we have a brain in our head, one in our heart, and one in our gut. And they all have their own electromagnetic fields, and they all work with different energy systems, right, to activate different energy systems in our world and in our day. One of the ways I think about this is that one of the reasons it's really important to unlock that creativity in your business and start expressing it is because it activates all of this. So it's like from our head, we're opening up the creativity, our imagination, our analysis and thought. When we engage the heart, it's about compassion and love and values and feelings. And then we activate the gut, which is about courage, making decisions, taking action. So to me, it's we want to engage, it's like a whole body experience when you're really activating and expressing your creativity. All right, so this is the most scientific I'm going to get in this. So like I said, we know at some level that, I mean, we're all creative, right? And I think your audience knows this probably as better than anybody, but it shows up in all different ways, in the different ways that we have our businesses, but it shows up in our day. For some people, cooking, I didn't get that gene. Cooking is not creative for me, but for many people, cooking is really creative. Or how we set the table, or maybe we have different hobbies. You know, my dad used to build hope chests and woodworking, and Karina, I know you also do welding and all sorts of different installations. And the clothes you wear are part of your expression of how you're creative. So it runs through our life in every different way, but it also runs through our business. And sometimes I don't know that we always think about how much we draw on our creativity every day. From writing an email, when you're sending out an email to your list, if you're writing an article, creating a Facebook Live video, maybe you're responding to someone in email. And you got to be creative in your responses, right? Your creative words, your thoughts, maybe your perspectives. When you're creating packages, proposals, and pricing, that's a very creative act. Social media, I feel like we're always being called on to, you know, how do you creatively, you know, I took a picture of this daffodil that, the one lone daffodil that has bloomed in our yard as a sign of spring, and then shared that as an impetus for an article that I wrote this week. That's totally about creativity. And of course, podcasts, videos, shows like this, and when we're creating presentations, when we're being guests on interviews, we're using our creativity as well. So to me, it's like creativity is the kind of secret energy, secret elixir in your business, that the more that you can open up that creativity, unlock that creativity, the more creative flow you're going to get, and the more open and a flow, the more open, more abundance you're going to have open, and the more success you'll experience. Of course, we all know that we have those periods where the creative flow can run dry. I should have put it at the top of the list, where technology can backfire on us and we feel frustrated. But we also have different reasons why we feel stuck. We might feel bored or in a rut. We might feel stressed or overwhelmed. And that starts shutting down our creative thinking, right? Our ideation. It just starts shutting things down, and it limits our possibilities and our solutions. So we really want to be intentional about priming the pump. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. 7 ways you can prime the pump and start liberating your creativity in your business. So one of the first ways I suggest is to change your environment. So I like to say that inspiration happens outside your office and implementation happens inside your office. And we're having to get really creative about how we get out of our environment these days, right? Because it's we can't always go to the local coffee shop like we used to. As things start getting warmer and we can start being out, that's a little bit easier. But you might be able to go out on your deck. You might be able to go to another room. If you're fortunate to have this really cool creative she shed, is what I call it, then, you know, I know those are becoming popular. I've heard people creating tiny houses just so they have a place to be able to go for their creativity. Just changing the atmosphere, changing the environment can open up the energy. So even moving to a different room, moving to the basement in somebody else's room or the porch in somebody else's room, going to somebody's beach house or lake house can really make all the difference, and just really shifts your perspective. All right, the second way that that helps liberate your creativity is to move your body, right? And we're all feeling this these days, you know, of liberating, of moving our body during this pandemic, right? I just feel like we're all like on an obsession, like, oh my God, I can't sit for 2 more hours in front of Zoom. I need to have a break. But finding ways to be able to incorporate dancing or yoga or walking or running or whatever your form is, to be able to move your body. I find so often that when I am thinking about maybe a presentation that's coming up or thinking about something I want to write, if I just get out and move my body and get outside, then all sorts of ideas will start coming in, right? All sorts of, it's like the universe says, oh, now she's relaxed. Now she's an open vessel. Now I can bring in the ideas. She can hear them now. So there was move your body. Number 3 is to sit still, right? So sit still. To me, this is about filling your well and doing things like meditation, guided visualizations, mindfulness practices, things like that. So being able to really, again, I think the universe wants to give us these creative ideas, the ones that are meant for us, but we can't always hear them when we're moving all the time and we're going from activity to activity. So making sure that each day we have some moment where we can just sit and reflect, there's so many different ways to do it. So I'm going to cut it short a little bit. Just we can talk more about those ideas too. Number 4 is to fill your well with new ideas. So to me, I'm always listening to podcast interviews like this, as Betsy was saying earlier, it's so inspiring. Joining a business program where you get ideas, right? It's like you've got to get out of your regular day and the regular thinking. Oops, hold on, I just lost my screen.
I see it still.
Can you see it still? I can't see it. So let me just find it. What happened to it? All right, I'm going to stop sharing for a second and then I'm going to go back to share it. I lost it. I had something pop up and then all of a sudden I lost it. Okay, there we go.
I get that.
All right. So we've got to be constantly, not constantly, but purposely and intentionally looking for opportunities to fill our well with new ideas, new ways of thinking about things. One of my favorite books is Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. And he talks about how we listen to a song and then it's like you get an idea for new lyrics, right? You see somebody's art, you get an idea for new art, not copying somebody, but stealing like an artist is actually being inspired by someone and then making it yours. All right. And number 5 is one of my favorite, is journaling and writing. Again, that there's slowing down and being still, and then there's that active stillness. These are some journal pages that I give my clients about writing for the best day ever. Having some sort of practice that you can do that is, whether it's writing morning pages just to kind of clear everything out. Here, I get you to write to your inner business muse or inner business expert and ask for advice, ask for what you should focus on today, ask for guidance and connection and the ideas to come. And that kind of practice, it's amazing what will start coming through you. It's like the more you ask for it, the more the creative inspiration will come through, but also the love for what you want to do from your heart and also the courage from your gut. And then the 6th one is to follow the creative energy and don't second guess it. And what I mean by that is, again, when you're doing these practices, you're going to start listening, hearing, whichever way you get these messages, you're going to get messages about where the creative energy wants to expand, where it wants to go. And what I have learned over the years is to trust yourself and trust the universe and not second guess it and follow it. Here's a great example. One of my clients, George Herrick, he's an artist and a coach and a shaman, and he started doing these cairns, which is the name for the stacking of the rocks that we often see in mindfulness practices. And he would take a picture and write a little meditation and put it on Facebook. And he's done this for about 5 years now. And he just started doing it spontaneously, following the energy. Then he wanted to do it the next day and the next day. And then he was putting them on Facebook every day. And it became a thing that he was doing every day on Facebook. He didn't know why. He didn't know where it was leading him, but it was something that was meditative. It was creative, a creative expression. And it led to, he ended up this last year in November, wrote a book called Stone Warrior. And it's all about how he used the cairns and meditation. And then actually a couple of years ago, he got cancer, prostate cancer, and ended up using that creativity as part of his healing process throughout cancer, along with other types of treatments. But it became a big way for him to heal his spirit as he was going through the cancer treatments. And if you would have told him 5 years ago, it would have put so much pressure, right? I think the universe only gives us like breadcrumbs, the spiritual breadcrumbs. Here's what you need to know today. Follow that, trust that, and then the next thing will appear. All right. And then the last one is be willing to bring your creativity into creating products and programs in your business. So I like to say transformation plus art plus business. That is really hot these days. It's really big. Many of you have probably seen the art journaling course. There's so many art courses. It's really exploded this last year with the pandemic. But a lot of them are not just art. They're also bringing in a transformation piece. Like I imagine that you do, Karina, with like your women in the welding. I always think of it's so much more than just the how-to. I would imagine it's so much more empowering and a healing process.
Fighting.
Yes.
What's that?
Somebody new just joined in. I think that there was.
Oh, gotcha. Crystal. Yeah. All right. And so some different ideas for how you can bring your creativity into creating products. You can do that through customized worksheets. I do a ton of those. I love to create fun worksheets that give people a different way to approach something. Exercises, journals, visualizations, card decks, meditations, bringing your art techniques in different ways, and of course, bringing your creativity into your marketing. All right, I just shared like a ton. And is it okay if I just invite you to a free ebook, or we can put that in the chat later? Okay, this is a great way. Okay, great. So much of what I talked about has to do with like daily rituals of either moving your body, being still, journaling, things like that. And so I created a 90-page free ebook that has 90 different success rituals to really open up your flow, your creativity, and also help ground your energy for the day. So you can take a look at that over at joyfulbusiness.com/rituals. And you'll find some people that you know in there, a lot of my clients, and got to contribute rituals as well. So it's a great collaborative effort. It was a great creative effort. All right. So I just shared like a ton. Get me started about creativity in business. And
It's great. It's great. Thank you so much. I loved listening to all of the different aspects that you shared. And I've seen Marie's card decks. I'm really intrigued with these card decks lately. You know, I've seen the ones that Marie did, and then I've seen the ones that Pat Fiorello did. And do you have a set of cards kind of like
I have a set of card decks that I did about 15 years ago. And then I have
I was way ahead of the curve.
I know. I'm inviting Marie's card deck goddess queen to a webinar this week. So she's going to be talking to my whole community about that. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
That is super great. Well, let's see, did we lose Crystal, or did she just, oh, she's still there. Okay, great, Crystal. Okay, wonderful. Well, let's see, does anyone have any questions for Laura or anything you'd like her to go in depth a bit more on in that wonderful array of information and inspiration? Do you need?
Trying to unmute Betsy.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I was really intrigued. There was a thing in Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert's, and she talked about, she got the idea for a book, and she got really busy with her life. And
I actually read that book.
Yeah, I know. I had read that book.
I was like, oh my God, she's describing this book that I've read.
Oh, I know, but she had the idea for State of Wonder that Ann Patchett wrote. And Ann Patchett, she's good friends with her. And I remember reading that book, and it was just a really, she's a fabulous writer. But anyway, so, and then I thought, well, that's interesting. Sometimes, our ideas come to us and we don't recognize them as being the gifts that they are.
Yes.
And then the other thing is, how do you, I guess you have to sit. I've been introduced by a lot of concepts by people that are painters and work with mixed media and not fabric like I do. And so I'm trying to figure out how to use those ideas. And I guess a lot of that is just sitting with it and letting the ideas kind of come and nip at you. Yeah. Sometimes you can't push it.
Right. It's an interesting dance, right? It's, I look at it like a dance. On one hand, you do have to slow down so that you can hear the whispers and make the connections. And then at the same time, you might need to play with it. And, like my client George was doing with the Karens, just
Mhm.
following the energy, not quite sure, why or how. I know I did that years ago with art journaling. It was like I became obsessed with it. And I was like, why am I
What's
obsessed with this?
what's the Karen? I'm not
The
sure.
Karen's a stack of rocks.
Yeah,
Um,
okay. And
yeah.
so she was making art out of that?
Yeah, he was doing Karens every day and
Oh.
writing meditations and posting these pictures on Facebook every day, which then, after 5 years, it became a book, that also talked about
Oh.
his healing journey through cancer. But if you would have told him ahead of time, he may not have done that, right? Or he might have put too much pressure on himself, or like there was a reason he actually needed to make the Karens for 5 years. Um, but I've always been intrigued by that idea that you're referring to, with Liz Gilbert in her book. It's like, is it my idea? Is it somebody else's idea? And I think it's really intriguing to think, like, I think that we get an alignment, our energy
Mhm.
and our values, our interests, our fascinations, our passions, our expertise, and we are this open vessel for
Mhm.
ideas if we listen. And if not, they'll move on, right? And I think
I
that,
know.
and that's okay. Like, it's okay, because if you believe in abundance, it's like, that's okay. I didn't act on that idea. Sometimes, I believe that ideas are just meant to be stepping stones to the next idea. Sometimes, we can't always, do every idea we get. Like, you guys, I know, are hugely creative, and there's just no way we could do every idea. And you do have to pick and choose.
Mhm.
And it's a bit like, thinning out your garden, right? It's like you have to pull certain things to make room for ones to grow really robustly. We just can't possibly do every idea. Um, so there's something about, to me, it always comes back to trust, like being able to trust that I can
Right.
discern which idea do I need to marinate on right now and just take in, which one do I want to practice and play with, see if it wants to grow more, which one do I need to just let go for now. And, or maybe it's let go forever and just move on to something else. But to me, it keeps coming back to trust, right? That you trust yourself enough to keep listening, and that you believe in abundance and have this abundance mentality rather than I must grab onto every single idea and hold them as mine and beat myself up if I don't do them. I know none of you can relate to that. That's only me, right?
No, I started thinking about it like the universe, just kind of like I have neighbors that have moved in. I've really enjoyed them and they've moved away. And so now I think about ideas are like that too. They kind of might come to you, and if you don't like them, they're going to go away. They're going to go to somebody else, maybe. But they might only be there for a short period of time.
Yeah.
It's just kind of allowed me to really reframe my creativity.
Yeah. I always think of it like, I have this idea lake, and I can put my creative ideas in this idea lake that I can pull from whenever I want to. And, there's sometimes where I see an idea and I'm kind of excited about it. And then I don't act on it and I see somebody else has done it. And it's like, oh, yeah, I should have did it. And you know what? I still have to remember, like, if my energy is still there, I can still do it because nobody's going to do it the way that I've done it. Right. And maybe I just need to let it go for now. So it's really, that's where that checking in, doing your journaling morning pages, is so important, right? Otherwise, we can just drive ourselves crazy with a woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Well, this year has been really good. I call it the sit stay and shut up year. And so it's been good because we've had to kind of really sit and
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
go running around and get infected.
Yeah, it was definitely a year to create new habits, and embrace myself with what does it mean to be alone. I always say I'm a social hermit, and this year I've been really like engaging in the hermit side of my social hermit part. Like I love
Yeah.
being all alone and having nothing that I have to do. And a couple times a year, I go do an artist residency where I'm just by myself in the woods, very intentionally in a cabin with nothing to do but have all my art supplies and see what ideas come out. And it's always when the freshest, newest ideas come out, right?
Right.
But
Right.
at the same time, I love going to events and meeting people and seeing people and going to talks and lectures and seeing other people's art. And then I'm like, well, wait,
Mhm.
if I put all my time and energy into that, what would I do if I, you know, didn't do all that? And so this year has been a good time of
Yes.
For instance, I think I've gone to see the sunrise over 45 times and then got
Right.
a paddleboard and got out paddleboarding multiple times. And I never seem to make
Oh,
time to do either of those things. Right. So that's something I noticed for myself.
Yeah.
Um, Laura, I was wondering if you could talk just a little tiny bit more about the art journaling. I actually do the artist pages, but I just write in my notebook. And I have at other times had sketchbooks and I write thoughts and ideas. But I'm just really curious, like, what do you mean, like, with art journaling? Like making a journal, but you're also writing and you're scrapbooking or painting, or what is art
It's
journal?
to me, it's just it's yes. That's how I look at art journaling. I usually get a journal that a favorite journal that has some good paper in it that can stand to get wet or glued, paint or glued on. And I love to just do backgrounds and abstract backgrounds and use stencils, use my markers. Um, whatever really inspires me, use rollers and things like that, jelly plate papers. Um, and I just fill it with all these background papers. And then I just let myself, it's like this place of freedom
Mhm.
where I can't do it wrong, like, because it's not for an output. It's not to show necessarily, although it always ends up being amazing and people want to see them. But I'll put pictures in for magazines or cut out phrases for magazines, and then I'll write things, and I'll let that phrase, like shine on, and then I'll write there, like, what does shine on mean to me, and I'll use that as a prompt. And they're just this compilation. Sometimes I put in positive affirmations, um, things that I want to remember that really inspire me. And so to me, it's just this juicy goodness of texture, color, um, and positive words that I can do. Sometimes I do. I have one called Les Cesspool that I do that is where I take a Sharpie and I write across the page really fast in script writing when I need to dump the crap out that's in my head. And just write, you can't, all over the page really fast and just dump the things that you would never say out loud, right? But you can't really, it's not really legible. And then from there, I'll go and um, put paint over it,
Mm.
put different types of papers on it. Then it's like I've transformed, those thoughts into the positive things. So my art journals are just all different like that. But when I found them, when I found art journal, I was going through a divorce, and it was, or probably the rocky part of the marriage, the really rocky part of the marriage, and then into divorce. And art journaling was this place where I could just play and express, and there was no right or wrong. There was no pressure. I could do a little bit, 5 minutes. I could do something for a few hours, and it was just, it's just wonderful. I brought it into my business coaching because it's such a release for people, and so we do it at retreats and in different types of workshops and things like that.
Very cool. Thank you for that.
okay.
And yeah, I think I come to journaling from, like, that's where I put all my ideas about. I mean, I come to, like, an art journal to me is like where I hold all my ideas of what to create, and then I have a separate journal that's like I kind of do the morning, like, artist way style morning
Mhm.
pages, of writing a couple pages and then allow things to come out.
Yeah, I have different journals for different things too. So I have like my journal that I do in the morning with the
Yeah.
morning pages, or writing to my inner business muse, and then the art journaling is just where I get to transform thoughts. Yeah, and energy.
Wonderful. Thank you. Let's see. Crystal, did you, I can take you off mute. Do you have any questions or comments for Laura?
Yeah, I just like her idea of the big magic with Liz Gilbert. I think it's a fantastic book about ideas and how they just come to you. And if you don't, you should at least entertain them and give them and marinate with them. Otherwise, they'll go away, and someone else will do it, and you will be like, "I thought of that, but I didn't act on it. I didn't do it, so that's on me." Do you know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
It's
Yep.
like
And there's
so.
always the next idea. Yeah, it's like when you really
Yeah,
have that abundance, it's like maybe it just wasn't meant for you to do it at this time, you know?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
It's funny.
great.
I bought that book a while ago, and then I had to move kind of in a hurry because I had this flood, and I realized that I never got a chance to read it before I packed it up with all my other books. So I'm inspired out of this conversation to read that.
Oh, you'll love it. It's great. It's a
I
great
like some
book.
of her perspectives on things about creativity and ideas. And,
Yeah, I've heard many people refer to it. Um,
Well, she talks about fear being the enemy of creativity and how you can put it in the back seat and tell it to shut up. I love that.
yeah.
Even though I generally am not fearful.
yeah.
There's all different variations, you know, the comparison, the perfectionism, the fear, success, fear of failure, and things like that. So being able to, you know, have that awareness of that fear and how it's holding you back, and then not letting
Yeah.
it drive the car, putting it in the back seat, you know, saying, okay, you know, I know that you're here for a reason, trying to protect me, and you're not driving the car. You know?
Right.
Right.
I love that. It was great. I actually came to one of those aha moments in the midst of my journaling this morning. Actually, that was pretty interesting to see, and like, wow, it was another take on, you know, I have kind of like the side of fear of success, like people are going to be angry at me, you know, based on things that happened in the past and stuff. But I saw a whole other side to it. What was it? It was something about like I had a stepmother that was always angry at me about stuff, and it was something about like when I was in the spotlight, it was never comfortable, right? It was like, you're in trouble now, you know, like
Right.
kind of
Right. It
thing.
could be dangerous, right? Because it could be, you know,
You know, like,
invisible, and somebody's going to pick at something, or
yep, just be quiet and mind my own business, and, you know, don't da 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 da. And then in high school, I would win awards, and then my peers were sort of a little bit snarky, and, you know, and that wasn't fun. Yes, of course, in high school, you want people to like you. So,
right.
so
Those are some of the number one things that are, you know, there's all these different forms of fear that disguise itself, right? This negative ego disguises itself in all these different forms of the, you know, imposter syndrome and perfectionism and comparison and competition, fear of visibility. And then, but underneath all of that are these like real terror type fears, you know, where we are afraid that we're going to be abandoned, and we are afraid that we're going to be humiliated or embarrassed or rejected in some way, or even disappointed. It's amazing how the fear of disappointment can drive us, that we're going to disappoint others, or we might disappoint ourselves. And sometimes it's can be really obvious, and sometimes it's so subtle. It's like, that's why the journaling, like you said, it's so important. I'm always journaling, and I get this new connection, this like aha, what's maybe holding me back, or holding me back from putting it out there in a different way or bigger way, or something like that. So it's so important, I think, to work with a coach when you're putting your creativity and your voice in all the different forms out into the world.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a good point. I think all of us feel good when we're creating we're in our own little safe space. But then when it comes time to show people what you've done and share, they're in a totally different space. I mean, how do you deal with everything that comes up?
Yes.
Do you coach people on that, and how to
I totally do, because that's what happens. What happens for a lot of my clients, they've got this really great idea. They want to start doing more marketing, being more visible. And I could say, go do these 3 things, you know, post on social media, do a Facebook Live, write a newsletter, and they'll freeze or hide every time. And unless we deal with the internal stuff of what does it mean to be visible? What does it mean to put yourself on video? And who do you think you are? Whatever stories, like you said, Karina, you know, whatever stories from your childhood or your teenage years, they're going to get triggered and they come up. And so, yeah, I do a lot of things. I do a lot of energy alignment and belief shifting around that, because until we deal with that stuff, you're going to keep hitting up against the same, you know, you're going to be writing your website for a year, you know, it's like you're going to keep meaning to write the book. You're going to keep meaning to do something, or in the South, you're going to keep fixing to do something, and you're just never going to do it.
Well, I think one of the interesting things, especially with Sephora's, this whole, all these interviews, it's so fabulous, is how artists are attracted to different kinds of materials and methods. And we can't really explain why that is. But people do ask, why do you do this and not that? And I just want to say, okay, that's a stupid question. I'm not going to answer that. And I don't get to decide what's a stupid question, what's not. But I mean, a lot of it is like we were talking about last week, is there's just flow. creativity just kind of flows out, and how do you explain that? And
Yeah.
we glom on certain materials and techniques and stuff like that. And
Yeah. Well, you get to have your preferences. And that's the thing that I think it's like you have preferences, and these preferences sometimes are explainable and not explainable. Like I love the art journaling and the texture. It's so obvious that I love color, bright colors and textures. And people will be like, wow, look at that, when they open up my journals. And it's like, but it's for me, it's my pleasure, and it's like my preference. And there's something about really being in your preference. And then also, then when you're having in a business, it's like, where does that overlap with what I call your soul tribe, the people who really want what you have? And then that's where we start looking at how do those overlap together.
Great.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Laura, would you want to share like you shared about the gentleman with the cairns, the stone stacking, which I've done a number of those, and they are so meditative.
They are.
Concentrate, otherwise you're going to stub your toe on the rocks falling on them, But would you want to share any other like kind of, stories that are your favorite of some kind of aha that one of your coaching participants had or something along those lines?
Yeah. Gosh, there's just so many different all of my clients work on what I call these passion projects. And those are the projects that really expand their business and take them, further, expands themselves and their business. One of them, this is using creativity in a different way, but one of the things I do with my clients is we create these energy jams. And an energy jam is like, it's sort of a poetry affirmation rap in a way. And it's like these lists of believable affirmations and soul nourishing statements that are about who you are becoming and your identity and what you're creating in the world. So they'll sound something like, I am a woman who easily attracts clients. I am a woman who writes creatively every day, and you build on it and build on it. Mm-hmm. And so I've been working with this one client who is a contract chief marketing officer, a CMO. And we've been working on, we were working on her energy jam and getting her really, it aligns your energy, right? It's this creative way of approaching how do you align your energy and shift your identity. And then as soon as she got off the call, she actually had a referral from a guy who called out of nowhere, right? Synchronicities. And she was so fired up. She was truly in her power and had her voice around, yes, I can do this for you. And here's what I, asked all the questions and was just really standing in her power and her leadership with him. And then did this amazing, beautiful proposal and sent that to him. He still hasn't answered yet. So this just happened. But as a result of that, a current client that she has who's on a small retainer kept wanting her to do more things that was outside the scope of her retainer. And so we created this proposal to expand the retainer. And she was really nervous about this. So we created this energy jam using this creative process of these affirmations and statements, and all about money, value, deservability, being seen, being heard. And she created this proposal, sent it to the client, and the client, and this was a brave thing for her to do. She was like, oh my God, I can't believe I've done this, and the client accepted like the highest retainer. It was her highest retainer that she'd ever achieved and things like that. So just another example, like there's so many ways to bring your creativity into it's like bringing creativity into your business to approach business problems and obstacles, and then also unleashing your creativity in your business to be able to express it. Yeah. So it's in all different ways that we transform that.
You're kind of like a therapist.
I'm like the business therapist, the intuitive business therapist. Yeah.
No, really, I get that.
But it's the stuff that gets in the way, because we can come up with a million ideas. Here's the book, here's the ebook, here's the website, here's the program, here's the product, here's the art, here's this. And people don't do it because of all this other stuff that gets in the way.
Yeah.
Really great. Well, thank you so much for sharing so much of yourself with us today. I loved all the steps that you shared, and
that was wonderful.
And do you have any programs or anything coming up that you would like people to know about?
Probably the easiest thing is if you just get on my my email list. I do have a program coming up that's about creative flow. And I just have a 6-month program that's a group that's ending. And I think many of them are going to go into this kind of phase 2 of creative flow. So I've got this, so I'm going to be opening up a new 6-month program all about creating with flow.
Great. And Laura, what's your website again? Laura West? No,
You can go to joyfulbusiness.com, or you can go do the rituals and go to joyfulbusinesssuccess.com/rituals if you want to get that rituals ebook.
Joyfulbusinesssuccess.com.
Mm-hmm.
2 S's in success.com. I'll put that in
like all the S's in there.
Joyfulbusinesssuccess.com. Did I put that correct in the chat?
Yeah, here, let me do it. If you want to get the ebook, it is joyfulbusinesssuccess.com rituals. Otherwise, just go to joyfulbusiness.com.
Perfect.
We're in the middle. We're straddling 2 websites, so we're in the middle of creating a whole new extravaganza. Another creative passion project.
We're about to redesign my website too. It's kind of fun and exciting and a little scary. Like, what are we going to let go of? I have this folder called archive for all the things I'm not quite ready to let go of, and they're not current.
Right. Exactly. I know what you mean.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. Everyone else that's in our audience, thank you for being here. And Laura, would you like to complete with your last words today? Anything you'd like to share with the world?
Yes. You know, to me, if I could point you anywhere, it's like to listen to the dream, listen to where you're being called, the vision that you want to create, and don't second guess it. Just start taking the baby steps today. It really, the way there is through all these baby steps. I think so often we think we have to do the giant leap all the time, and that's exhausting to our nervous system. And so, and usually that's when we go into flight, fight, or freeze. So really looking at, okay, what is the one thing I can do today? And then again, the next day when you wake up, and the next day when you wake up.
Great. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you everyone else that's joined us. And thank you for all the people in the future who will listen to this.
Thank you for doing this, Karina.
That was wonderful. Thank
you. Thank you, Karina.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next